In the last part of the box fan build, we got started working on the inside. I permanently attached the top layer of subfloor, I built some boxes to cover the wheel wells, and then we finished everything off by doing a little more sealing on the inside. Well, today is super exciting because we are installing not one, not two, but 3 new windows on the box fan. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, here are the windows I'm going to be installing. They are 40 inches long by 15 inches high. And the plan is to install 3 of these. So 2 of them will go in the back on each side. Again, if you're new to this build, this back area is where I'm planning to put the bed. So these windows will kind of be back here by the bed. Now the third window is going to go up here. I have some markings with masking tape on the wall. And to give you guys an idea, this lower tape line is going to be where the kitchen is going to sit. And then this upper tape line is going to be some cabinets. So the third window is basically going to go in between the kitchen area and the cabinets. And that is kind of the plan for today, is to cut 3 different holes in the box fan and get these windows installed. So we have 2 things to figure out with these windows. First is how high up on the van do we want them? Do we want them closer to the top? Do we want them lower down? How high are these windows going to go? And then second, we need to figure out where they're going to go on the horizontal axis. I'm going to start with the windows that are going to be in the back by the bed. So one on this side, one on the other side. There were pretty much infinite possibilities for where I could put these windows. But like I mentioned, the windows were 15 inches tall, and I had about a 25-inch gap between the top of the kitchen counter and the start of the cabinets up top. And honestly, having this small of a gap really helped me because it narrowed down where these windows could go. As far as positioning the 2 windows in the back along the horizontal axis, my plan was pretty much just to center them between the bed. Okay, so I got 1 window marked out. It's super nice. They include these cardboard templates when you buy the windows, so you can just kind of tape it up, trace an outline, and you know you're good to go. And now we're gonna basically try and match this window location, but on the opposite side. So same height, same distance from the back wall, and I'm hoping this should be pretty centered between the bed when that's installed. It felt pretty scary to cut big holes into the side of my van because I knew if I messed up, there was no going back. I had 1 shot at doing this. I knew that I wanted the windows to be symmetrical on both sides, and if they weren't, that was going to be something that would really bug me. So I took my time on these measurements, going really slow and making sure these windows were in the exact place I wanted them before cutting the holes. Because of the wheel well boxes in the subfloor, the easiest way to get an accurate measurement was going from the top of the box down. I only really needed 2 measurements here, one for where the top of the window cutout would be, and one for the side. Once I had these 2 measurements, all I had to do was tape up the cardboard outline and trace it out. So 2 of the windows are marked out in the back. We have 1 more left to go, and that's going to be up by the front kitchen area. So let's go ahead and get that one marked out too. I knew that I would match the height of this front window with the 2 back windows, but I still had to figure out where to position it along the horizontal axis. I went back and forth with a few options, but ended up deciding to center it between the kitchen. Again, there were just so many places I could put this window, and I have no idea if I made the right decision by doing this, but at some point you just need to pick a spot and move forward. Well, it's always a little bit scary anytime I'm cutting holes into the side of this van. But the time has now come to make the cutouts for these windows. We're gonna start with a drill out a couple holes in the corners, and then we'll take the jigsaw and cut this out. Okay, well, I was standing here with the drill just making sure these were in the right place. And honestly, I think I'm going to move them. I think I'm just gonna move them a little bit higher up. I was kind of looking at them and they seem like they're just a little bit low. I had the windows centered between the top of the kitchen counter and the shelves up here, but honestly, I think I'm gonna like it better if I move them up a couple inches. So I'm gonna remark out these lines and then we'll actually cut them out. Well, being indecisive is one of my problems with this van build. Unlike a Sprinter van or school bus where the windows are in place and you have to build around them, with this box van build, it is totally customizable. It is totally up to me, and having that many options is both a blessing and a curse. I was trying not to overthink the window placement too much, but my gut instinct was telling me that the windows were just a little bit too low. So I went through and moved the windows up just a few inches, and after that we were finally ready to start cutting. This is my problem with this van build, is I'm always doubting things and just trying to make sure I'm going to be happy before I make big changes like this. And now we're going to take the drill and start drilling into the side of the van. So how do you actually go about cutting a hole into the side of your van? Well, thankfully I've done this a few times now and have figured out a good technique that seems to work pretty well. I start by taking my drill with a pretty big drill bit and drilling 4 holes in each corner of the cutout. Alright, the time has come. We've got our holes drilled. I'm going to take the jigsaw now and then cut this out. These holes allow me to fit my jigsaw blade in, which give me a place to start and finish the cut. From there, I pretty much do my best to try and follow the outline I traced out earlier, trying to stay on the line and just make a clean cut. Alright, we have a hole. Let's test this window. It's always good when things work out on the first try, and with this window, it fit perfectly. One hole is cut, let's do the other side. The sides of my box van are made up of FRP, which stands for fiberglass reinforced plywood. It's pretty much a 1/2 inch piece of plywood sandwiched between 2 layers of fiberglass. At first I used a hardwood jigsaw blade to try and cut out these holes, but I was going through blades so fast. Instead, I tried using a thin metal blade, and that worked way better on the FRP panels. The process for cutting out these holes was actually pretty quick. After wrapping up the 2 cutouts in the back of the van, I moved forward to the last hole, and that was the one up front by the kitchen. Well, as nice as these holes are for some airflow, we are not going to keep them that way, and next on our agenda for today is installing the windows. So I attached this ratchet strap here. It goes over the box and connects to the other side. And the reason I have this here is that I'm hoping it will help hold the windows and just prevent them from falling out while I'm getting everything attached. My plan is to use some Sikaflex 252 to attach the windows. This is a little bit different than 221. 221 is both an adhesive and a sealant, but it's more designed for sealing. 252, however, is a polyurethane adhesive. It is a lot stronger and it's used a lot in automotive construction. So it's designed to vibrate and move around on a vehicle when it's driving and still have a super strong hold. So Sikaflex 252, this is what we're gonna be using to attach the windows. All right, the time has come. Cut open the Sikaflex. We're gonna apply it around the outside of the window, and then we will install the window. We'll go into the van and install that trim ring to clamp and hold everything together while the adhesive dries. Let's do this. RV windows have what's called an interior trim ring. These screw into the window from the inside, holding it all in place. Every window trim ring is designed for a specific wall thickness, and these windows I purchased were made for a 2-inch wall. I'm still deciding whether or not I'll use the trim ring, because in order for these to fit, my interior framing would need to be 1.5 inches. The wall of the van makes up the other 1/2 inch for a total of 2 inches. Using framing like this is a little thicker than I had originally planned, and it means I'll be losing interior space. And that's why I decided to use a strong sealant like Sikaflex 252, so just in case I can't use those interior trim rings, I know the windows will be attached very well. At least they should be. Now, I didn't film much during the window install process because, being honest, it was pretty stressful. So as I show some clips of the install, I'm going to walk you guys through what I ended up doing. I started by applying a nice and thick bead of Sikaflex 252 around the perimeter of the window. After that, I went and pressed the window into the holes we cut out earlier. The next step was to go inside and attach the trim ring, and the goal of this was to hold the window in place and kind of pull it up against the wall while the adhesive dried. When you try to screw the trim ring into the window, it pushes the window out, and without having anyone else to hold the windows in place from the outside, the windows kept wanting to pop out of the holes. I had to work super carefully to make sure I didn't accidentally push the windows out, but after I got a few screws in, the process was a lot easier. I used 2x4 blocks, which are actually 1.5 inches thick, to sandwich in between the trim ring and the interior wall of the van, and this allowed me to tighten everything down, pulling the window into the wall. Once the trim rings were installed, I removed the window screens and used every clamp I could find to try and hold these windows in place so I could let the Sikaflex cure overnight. Welcome back. It is the next morning now. The windows have been clamped for about 24 hours. So let's go inside the van and I will give you guys an update. I pulled the screens off the windows and that allowed me to put a few clamps around the window. I've pretty much been using any clamp I could find to try and hold these windows in place just to give that Sikaflex 252 the best chance of adhering and forming a strong bond on the window. So like I said, it's been about 24 hours and I think my plan for today is to go ahead and remove the clamps. Then we'll go outside, we'll add some Sikaflex 221 around the outside of the window just to weatherproof it, and that should wrap up this project. First on the list was removing the clamps and the interior trim ring. And this was a little bit scary because it meant the only thing holding up the windows would be the Sikaflex 252. Now I know Sikaflex is super strong, but I was still just a little bit worried about not being able to clamp the windows well enough and just wasn't sure how strong the Sikaflex was going to be. But I pulled everything off to give the windows a test because I still know there's a possibility that I might not use the interior trim rings depending on how thick I decide to go with the framing. And if I don't end up using the 1.5 inch framing that's required for the inside trim rings to work, I need to make sure that the windows will still be secure. Alright, the trim ring is off. And again, that means the only thing holding this window in place is now the Sikaflex 252. I think my biggest concern is just that I wasn't able to clamp it tight enough because it's on a vertical surface. It's a lot harder to apply pressure. And I've never used Sikaflex 252 before, just 221. So my first time using a product and for a pretty serious install like these windows. So I'm just scared. I'm just scared it's gonna like fall right out. But the whole wall of the box fan is moving when I push on the window frame. So I think that's a pretty good sign. I feel like if I can lean into it and push on these windows and they feel pretty sturdy, I think that's a good sign that the Sikaflex was able to cure and form a pretty strong bond. And just to give you guys a better understanding of how this works, so when you put the trim ring on, there is what they call the wall thickness that it is designed to mount to. These windows are designed to mount to 2-inch walls, and since the sides of the van are 1/2 inch thick, that means this gap here is 1.5 inches. You may be asking yourself why I didn't get a window that was designed for a thinner wall so that I could use the 1x1s for framing, but the truth is it is pretty difficult to find windows of this size, and finding one with a 2-inch thickness was about the closest I could get. What's cool about these windows is that they open for ventilation, but they also have these screens as well to hopefully keep some bugs out, and the screens just Velcro themselves on there. With the windows mounted, we had one last thing to do, and that was adding another layer of sealant on the outside of the window. The Sikaflex 252 is designed to be an adhesive, so we also needed some type of sealant to help keep water from going in the edges. I decided to use Sikaflex 221. It's a sealant I've been using a ton on the van build, and I've had pretty good luck with it so far, so I decided to stick with that. Alright guys, well I feel like that took forever. Maybe I'm just slow at it, but for some reason anytime I'm sealing around a door or window, I just feel like that process takes forever to tape everything off, go through with the Sikaflex and then smooth it out and try and make it look nice. But thankfully, all 3 windows are sealed. I did Sikaflex around the entire window. And I think that is pretty much going to wrap it up for this project of installing a bunch of new windows in the box van. So there you go, the box van has a completely new look. I know not everyone might agree with adding windows to this van, and I definitely can't argue with the fact that I lose a lot of the stealth camping ability with this new addition. But if you follow my channel for a little while, you know I like to camp in pretty places, and I want to be able to enjoy that scenery from the inside of my van. So losing a little bit of the stealth camping ability is 100% worth the trade-off for me. Now, if you guys enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing more of the box van build, definitely don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. It's a completely free way to help support my channel and the van build, and I really do appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one.